Welcome back to
Comedy or Worse.
Yay! I'm here with a very special guest,
Jerome Stocks.
Yay!
Yay! Jerome. Jerome.
Cool. So, do you use the stage name?
No, Jerome.
All right.
Just me.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into comedy?
Well, actually, I've always enjoyed going to comedy shows, and big surprise. Who doesn't like to laugh, right? But I'm semi-retired, and there's a little ad in the paper or online or something said there's like a learn about comedy, learn about stand-up comedy. That was it.
Right.
And it was nearby at the house, and I didn't have anything going on that night. The family was out of town or something. I thought, what the hell? I went down and checked it out, and it was Andrew Norelli and Melissa Greenberg, and they put on. It was basically it was an intro thing.
Yeah. Learn
about stand-up comedy, and then they offered classes as a result of that. I took the class, and it was fun, and that's where I'm still at. Really, it's just rolling along as a student and learning and performing.
Sure.
But it was really an eye-opener. It was neat to learn about the art of crafting stand-up.
Yeah.
Because it's not joke telling. It's really not. Yeah. Take my mother-in-law, please. I mean, that's not stand-up. That's one of the things I have learned, not through that class necessarily, but through this process, is the difference, between a comedian, right? Comics say funny things. Comedians say things funny.
Right.
And I love that definition.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, do you? What's your style of comedy? Do you talk about yourself, or you just make up silly jokes?
I'm not really I love to tell jokes.
Yeah.
I do, but that's not what I do on stage. So I've been, I don't want to say criticized, but folks that have looked at things I've done, I'm still trying to find my voice, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for less than a year. And so my natural bent is to want to rant on politics and stuff like that, and just the world in general.
Sure.
But I've been told I really need to sort of let the audience in more and be more personal.
Right.
And when I do the first person thing, life experience type, versus observational, I do seem to get a good reaction. So I'm still working on that, to be really honest with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, it's a long process.
It is, and it's a really neat art form. It really is. But I compare it to trying to write a haiku. I mean, to do stand-up right. You see guys like Bill Burr or Jerry Seinfeld or Robin Williams. They just make it look natural. It's not. That's what I've learned. This is not these people just being themselves. I mean, maybe it is after a while. But, man, the craft that goes into really getting it right. It's economy of words, and there's a structure. And then you have to make that seem very natural. And the timing on stage is everything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's
I'm still in my journey of being as funny on stage as that I can be, making myself laugh in front of the mirror.
Right.
It's I would love to be able to be at that stage to just forget that the audience is there, and just be silly and have everybody be on board too. I kind of do a heightened version of myself on stage.
That's very cool.
And it's sometimes comics are like, oh, you're so funny just naturally. Why don't you just go up there and be yourself? It's look, you don't understand. We've been talking for 10 minutes.
Right.
And I finally just made you laugh just now. Did you not notice?
It doesn't work that way, does it, on stage?
You can't on stage for 10 minutes and then finally the people laugh, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and Aaron, I want to thank you for inviting me and for all you do and for the shows you put on. How long have you been doing this?
Over 6 years.
Wow. Okay.
This is year 7.
All right. Well, we really appreciate what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the comics that can come to the shows and be on the shows, and all the comics that come and do the podcast. There's no podcast without the comics. I would just be up here talking to myself about comedy.
Just
riffing. Today in comedy. There's be plenty to talk about, but it would just be a different podcast, right?
True.
There's a lot of comics that you see every day, and you maybe just don't talk to them even very much. And then they get to come on the podcast, and it's like, oh. And then it's also like my memory is like going, so it's like it's nice that it's recorded, and then I can watch and listen back to it and go, oh yeah, that's how Jerome got into comedy. I remember now. He took a class. So would you recommend taking a class to people that they're thinking about doing comedy?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, this is an art form, and I guess it would be possible to simply watch comedians on stage and somehow figure out how to do it. But I think that'd be a pretty rare talent. You're going to have a lot better time a lot quicker, I think, if you do go ahead and take some kind of class, get some kind of instruction, get some kind of mentorship. Short of that, something, because it's simply not an intuitive thing. And like you said, the funniest guy at the cocktail party or at your office or at your classroom is not necessarily going to be the funniest guy on stage. In fact, he might have a very miserable time up there because time is compressed. And it's not a conversation. It's you talking to the audience. It's not interactive in that regard.
Right. Yeah. Even when you're doing crowd work, it's you have to.
You better be driving.
Make sure it's about you.
Yeah. You better be driving that bus, or it's going off a cliff, man. That's what I've seen.
That's funny.
Yeah. But it's class. I think is I'm very. I'll put it this way. I don't regret taking a class. In fact, I'm very grateful for what I've learned and what I continue to learn by working with those teachers and with the people. That's the other thing I wanted to touch on. The people that I've met in the class have become friends.
Nice.
And we stay in touch. And we support and encourage each other and go to each other's performances and open mics and things like that. It's it's a very supportive community, it's my experience anyway. Maybe others have had other experiences, but like the people I met at your shows and stuff, have been really just nice folks, and everybody gets along and seems to be very rooting for each other, which is really neat, Cool. So I like the culture. I think that's one of the things that keeps me coming back too, is I like going to open mics and just being around other aspiring comedians. Yeah. It seems to be a nice group. That's my interpretation of my experience. So.
Yeah, that's great. So, what's your writing process for comedy?
Well, again, that's one of the benefits of taking a class. You have homework, right? You're going to do, prepare a 1-minute bit, prepare a 3-minute bit, prepare a 6-minute bit, prepare a 9-minute, whatever it is. Yeah. And unfortunately, of course, the class has now ended, and so my writing process is not as disciplined as I would like it. And in fact, that's one of the things I do intend. It's such a weasel word, intend. I'm going to make there you go, no more weasel words, folks. I'm going to, that's the weasel word too, write every day, and I don't. And that's what I should be doing. Yeah. And it's my experience that, and again, very limited experience, but it's my experience that if I just sit down and try to write something about some opinion about something I saw that day, did that day, thought about that day, whatever, okay, an interaction I had, could be something out of the news, could be something with my spouse, could be something with one of my kids, could be something whatever it is, if I just sit down and write, something will materialize. So, I mean, all right, I live in the suburbs, right?
Okay.
It's a perfect example. I had nothing to write about today. I live in the suburbs. I went to take my trash cans out, and some asshole parked their car right where I like to put my trash cans. All right, well, this is the burbs. That's a criminal offense. You know what I mean? That could lead to homicide in the suburbs. You put your goddamn car on my street where my trash cans go. I don't care that it's that's a bit. That can be a bit. But I've got to take the time to go sit down and write it.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So so I haven't really answered your question. My writing style is hit and miss. And one of the things that really helps is committing to do open mics on certain events like yours and others.
Yeah.
That forces me to sit down and do something, either to polish up what I have or to create something new. And so far, I'm in the process of really always creating new.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough of a material bank really. But that fear of failure. Folks, you want to be real lonesome? Stand on the stage for 3 minutes with nothing to say. That's a lonesome feeling. But really, that fear of failure motivates me to buckle down, sit down, do something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your experience, but that's certainly mine.
Absolutely. Have you tried like a writing workshop?
I never have, no, but that's something that would be great.
Yeah.
Because again, even with the class, you have your homework, you bring it in, you perform it, in the class, or read it, and if there's some interaction there, it's really helpful.
Yeah.
So feedback.
Yeah, like the writing workshop to me is like a study group almost. Like just pretend like you're taking a class, like still taking the class.
Yeah.
And you meet and all each person like says like what they have. Hopefully it's a whole joke, but it could be just a premise or
right.
It's almost there, not quite there, and then each person that has something some kind of feedback will say what it is, and then the next person goes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That really is. That's a great idea. That would be very helpful.
Are you in a place that there's comedy going on a lot around your area, or you got to drive to it, or?
That's a great question, and it's a funny answer because the answer is I didn't think I was, but man, I am. I'm up in the Encinitas area, coastal San Diego County, and we're just blessed. I mean, there's open mics all over the place that I didn't know existed.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. And there's in Oceanside, it's in Carlsbad, it's in Encinitas. I just heard about one in Solana, in Encinitas. I've lived in Encinitas 40 years.
Right.
I've been surfing in Encinitas 50 years, and 50 years ago I found Encinitas. I've been there a while, and I had no idea this stuff was going on, and it's so great. So it seems like it's like
hard to find it without trying. Right?
Yeah, well, it seems like the more I find, the more I find. I mean, if you're looking for opportunities to be doing comedy, boy, they're there, and this is really. I'm not sure that's the case everywhere. So I feel really fortunate to be living where I am because within a few miles, there's something going on. At least a couple of times per week, there's opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like so you're in Encinitas, is a little bit of a drive, but in North Park, I think it's the first and fourth Sunday of every month. There's a writing group called Write Tight.
Okay.
Where they meet at the Subterranean. I think it's called Subterranean Cafe.
In North Park?
Yeah, in North Park.
First and fourth Sunday?
Yeah, I think it starts at 4. And it's great, Each person just says what they have, joke, and then get feedback, and then go around the group. And
that would be amazing.
Yeah, you should start going to that.
Definitely. Where's that? You're gonna have to remember to write that. I can't have anything to write with because
Right.
I'm old. I'll forget.
You put it in your phone. Yeah, just Google it right now. It's a subterranean cafe. I think it's probably the only subterranean cafe, and if not, it's in North Park. And that
Subterranean Cafe, North Park.
And then the other thing is, like, with social media, it can be like a bother. But one of the reasons I'm still on Facebook and Instagram is because of comedy.
Yeah.
You know, so there's like Facebook groups that are dedicated to comedy, and that'll help remind you.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's, you know, and I get, as I get older, like I get very forgetful, so I have to have like reminders on my phone. It's like goes off, and then it's like, oh yeah, sign up for this thing, or move my car to the side of the street. Although last night I woke up, or I was like laying in bed, you know, trying to go to bed early to get extra rest, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to move my car, and then I like rode my unicycle all the way there. And I already had moved it. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, that was a nice exercise.
You got out of bed and rode your unicycle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a comedy bit right there, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's...
You lose the other half of your bicycle?
No, I did it on purpose.
Yeah, I just did a wheelie the whole way.
You can't chop a bike in half. Unicycle has
well, you know, when doing a wheelie because someone stole your front wheel, that's still not really a unicycle. Sorry, Aaron. That's, you know.
You're absolutely right. So, who is the funniest person in your life right now?
Oh. Well, I mean, yeah, there's no question that again, you know, and I don't see them on a daily basis, but Melissa Greenberg and Andrew Norelli are two of the funniest people I interact with. But, you know, I mean, again, there's this little group of aspiring comedians, you know, like Avanti and a few others, a guy named PJ, a woman named Eileen who doesn't think she's funny, and she's a scream. And she's very shy, and she was one of the students in the class.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this woman could be a star, an absolute star. She's an older lady, and she's a stitch. But it's so funny to watch her around. It's so funny to see her not understand how funny she is.
Right.
That in itself is kind of a crack up.
Wow.
But yeah, so I've been lucky to be around some funny people. In my youth, when I was 18, I worked at Bank of America. I'm gonna work in a little story here real quick. But I was the teller at Bank of America Beverly Hills in the International Creative Management Building on Robertson Street, Robinson Center. Yeah. And my favorite customer, and I was his favorite teller, was Robin Williams.
Wow. And
he was just getting started. And this is like 1970. 77 maybe, right in there, 78, and maybe 79, and he would come to the bank, you know, the ICM building, International Creative Management, where a lot of the agents were there, and so the people would go there, either get signed up or review, whatever they do with agents. That's all upstairs. We were downstairs in the bank. Yeah. They'd come downstairs, cash a check. There was no ATMs back then.
Okay.
And, you know, got to get cash for the weekend or whatever, or deposit a check because they got paid, they got a gig, you know.
Right.
And Robin would come in, and he'd actually let others go through if I was busy at my teller window. He would let others go through until I was open, then he would come to my window. And he wouldn't let me do his actual bank work until he was done making me laugh until I was crying. I mean, it was, I loved it. He did too, obviously. But I mean, I'd get cramps. I'd have tears running down my face, and I'd get cramps from this guy. Then we could do his banking, you know. And then he was like, he'd turn around and wave at the crowd, and you know, like, you know, see you next time, Jerome. You know, and it was great. But that was like pre-Mork and Mindy, pre-everything. I mean, I guess he was just doing the stand-up circuit in LA at that time. But I mean, that's a great memory, wonderful memory. But yeah, so I've been pretty lucky in my life in general. So
Yeah.
you know.
Super cool. Let's see. So, do you have like other hobbies or passions or aren't related to comedy?
Oh yeah, gosh, I've been through a few phases, golf and surfing and triathlon back in the day and all that good stuff, lap swimming. Right now, the last 5 or 6 years, I've reinvigorated my love of motorcycling. So I have a real nice touring motorcycle, and I do day rides, weekend rides, and then I do some long trips. Last weekend, 2 weeks ago, I took a week and rode from the Mexican border up to the Canadian border, so Tijuana to Vancouver, and then took the coast route back and saw a lot of great things and rode across the Golden Gate Bridge and just a bunch of stuff, see Morro Bay, see the Rock, Pismo, Avenue of the Giants, California's got some real beauty.
Yeah.
And next month I'll be leaving for this year's Sturgis trip in South Dakota.
Cool.
So I'll be leaving at the end of July, and that'll be a couple of weeks on the road. So I really enjoy the motorcycle a lot.
Nice.
So that's one of my passions, and I've got 3 adult children that I don't know how much they enjoy my passion about them, but I love it, and a couple of grandkids that are fun too. So life's a journey, It really is.
That's cool. So, is your family close by or?
No, but I know their phone number if I know. Yeah, no. Well, let's see. My youngest is still at college. She's actually right now she's in Alabama at Officers Boot Camp, Officers Cadet School, whatever it's called. She's ROTC so she's an incoming junior at the University of Arizona in Tucson, and she's signed her enlistment papers. She's going to be in Air Force. She's on pilot track, which is pretty exciting. My son he's military, he's Air Force Security Forces, and he just got transferred recently, like in this month, to San Antonio, Texas. So he'll be there. He works out of 2 different bases. One's the Air Force base there, and one's an Army base in El Paso, I think. And then my oldest is a school teacher, but she lives up in Temecula with the grandkids and her husband, and so we get to see them quite a bit. So it's great.
Nice.
Yeah. So I get to host because she says it's hot in Temecula, Dad. They're new to Temecula. She says, so for Eleanor's 3rd birthday, we want to have it at your house. And of course, my wife is thrilled, And I'm like, really? What's this? My wife's like, calm down. So apparently we're going to have about 33-year-olds in the house and yard, and their associated parents, and I don't really know what's going to happen. It ought to be a zoo, but we'll see how that turns out. That ought to be a minefield for material. If I take notes, take notes of my thoughts. Of course, it might also get me in jail, but we'll try to be.
Maybe just videotape it.
Yeah, right.
That's harmless, right? Just watch it.
What could go wrong? Whole bunch of rugrats. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we've been child-proofing the house.
Oh my. Yeah, that could take a while.
So yeah, no, we try to stay busy, and I volunteer with the sheriff's department, and that's really fun too. And that's good community service, and it really is a lot of fun, believe it or not. So good group of folks.
Sweet. So do you wish you started comedy earlier?
Absolutely. I really do. It's something, again, because I knew, Mr. Robin Williams back in the day, and went to comedy shows, and there was a great show. I think it was on Sunset Boulevard. It was called Pat something or other, the Hip Hypnotist or something like that. That was a fantastic show. It was a professional comedian, hypnotist, but the show was a stitch. Audience members would get hypnotized. They'd have them do crazy things. But I really, I don't know why I never pursued anything in the performance arena in my life. Up until this advanced age, if you will. But I really wish I'd given it a shot. I really do. I think that was an opportunity lost. I don't have many of those things to say in my life. I think I really don't. But on that score, I think I'm looking back on it. I had the opportunity. I was in the right place, and I've never been a shy person. So I don't know why I never gave any of that a shot. But I wish I had. Yeah. Because I'm really enjoying it. You know what? Let me tell you something. For anybody who's new or thinking about this or whatever, I really equate, and Aaron, maybe you can relate to this, or maybe you'll tell me I'm crazy, but to me, the stand-up thing is kind of almost like a little bit like golf, right? Because I suck at golf. I really do. I'm a hacker, like everybody else. But any round of golf, I don't care how bad it is, there's going to be one shot. You're going to make one shot. You don't even feel the club hit the ball. The ball, it's just like on TV, you know what I mean? Like, there it goes, and it lands just right, and it's wow, And that's what brings you back. Yeah. Well, this stand-up performing thing, I kind of get that kind of an adrenaline rush, because 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 8 minutes of time on the stage, and maybe nothing's going that well, and then something will. Yeah. And that feedback from the audience, that feeling where it engaged, man, what a payoff, like, wow, that's very addictive to me. Nice. So it's like, anyway, it's a payoff there. That's really cool. Yeah.
That's cool. So what are your goals in comedy right now?
Well, I want to say I want to get good at this, but I'm not sure that'd be like saying I want to get good at sculpting. I just want to get better. I want to get better at it. I don't know that I'll ever have the chops to get good at it, Sure. But I certainly want to get better at it, and I want to do it more. I like it, and I like the people around it. I like the culture. So, but I would like to get better at it for sure. It'd be a real goal to get good at this. Sure. So yeah, definitely.
Nice. So what's your favorite joke?
Favorite joke? I just heard one that I think is pretty funny. I can share with you. Sure. I got pulled over by a female cop. So she says, anything you say can be held against you. I said, boobs. All right, there you go. Quick little joke. Yeah. But I love dad jokes. Stupid jokes. It's fun. Yeah. What did the buffalo say when he dropped his kid off at college?
I don't know.
Bye, son. I mean, come on.
That's good. So what was your first joke?
My first stand-up joke, or
like anything that comes to mind.
Oh God, really? All right, it's a joke my dad told me when I was a kid. Yeah. And it was, let's see, how does it go? Oh yeah, how do you catch a bear on a frozen lake?
I don't know.
Well, you cut a hole in the lake, in the ice, and then you spread peas around the hole. And when the bear comes up to take a pee, you kick him in the ice hole. It tells you the house I grew up in, right? That was my dad's joke. And these are people, we would go on road trip vacations to go camping up in like San Simeon, and I can remember this very clearly. And we'd go past, in the Central California, there's cattle always grazing on the sides of the hills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom and dad both, they absolutely back each other up on this. I'd be like, oh, look at those pretty cows up there, because we grew up in LA, so cows grazing, that's something to make note of.
Yeah.
And my dad, without even smirking, would say, those are specially bred cows, son. They're bred with one side having shorter legs than the other. That way they can stand upright like you see while they're grazing and stand on that hillside without falling over. And my mom would go, yes. And some of them are on the left and some are on the right. You notice that, son? None of them were facing. She'd back him up. They'd go on. So this was, these are the people I grew up around. You never knew if you were getting a straight dope or what's going on here.
That's funny.
But yeah, so.
Super cool. So what's your favorite place to do comedy right now?
Oh, other than that lovely brewery in Kearney Mesa, really?
If that's your favorite place,
no, actually,
favorite place. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm still looking for my favorite place. Nice. I guess really, probably the American Legion in Encinitas. I love their shows that they have there. On the third Wednesday of each night, there's a free show there's an opening act and then a professional comedian, and that's really great. On the first Wednesday, it's an open mic night, or open mic evening, and again, a very supportive crowd, and really nice folks. But I've seen those same folks up at the Jazzy Wishbone, which is a really neat gig too.
Yeah.
And again, your place at the brewery in San Diego is really great too. So I'm still hunting around.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome to come every week to Quantum Brewing.
Well, thank you.
You don't have to. Doesn't have to be a special event.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. One of the downsides to living in Encinitas is that it's becoming an Encinitas bubble because of the traffic. The southbound traffic in the evening is worse than the morning commute now. And that's become a real challenge, but I've got to just get over my frustrated old self and suck it up.
Yeah, the crazy thing sometimes with that is like the side streets will be faster sometimes.
No, you're right.
Or even if it's not faster, it's just more enjoyable.
Yes, less frustrating. Right? Yeah.
It's like you're maybe going the same speed, but you're not expecting to go freeway speed, right?
That's true.
You're having to stop every couple hundred feet or
whatever. No, that's a valid point. Maybe just take the canyons through Rancho Santa Fe instead of I-5. It'd be less frustrating. Probably take longer, but be less frustrating.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows what you'll see?
Yeah.
Let's see. So, do you do any other type of art?
No, I'm not. I'm actually from an artistic household, and so as a result, I rejected the arts. I went into business. I was the black sheep of my family because I could spell and do math, So they didn't invite me to family gatherings. They were like musicians and painters and sculptors and really my oldest sibling was my sister Janice, now dead. Actually, both my brother and sister both passed away. But she won first place fine arts at the LA City School District and a full ride scholarship to Arts Center.
Yeah.
And I worked for a lot of years in the animation industry up in LA doing Saturday morning cartoons and TV commercials, and I'd worked on one feature film in Hollywood. But I was always on the technical side of the business, not the drawing side. So I was always hated by the artists because I was more like quality control, and that never goes over well with an artistic person.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't do any other art. I'm an art reject pretty much.
Well, you're expressing yourself.
There you go. Yeah, I used to do photography.
Okay.
And I did my own. Back in the day, folks, I actually had to load my own film into the canisters.
What?
Yeah, the what? Yeah, and process my own film and then make my own prints, and then I even got into color for a while, although I personally think black and white's more artistic. But yeah, and I did win an honorable mention for a photograph at the San Diego County Fair one year, but that's, you know,
It's cool.
yeah, it was. I really do love photography. Art photography is fantastic.
Nice.
But again, I saw too many people starve to death with their art, and made a decision as a very young age to not make art my livelihood. That's why I went into business, and that's, you know, yeah. Maybe that's why I never went into performing.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your earliest memory?
Childhood.
Sure. I mean, if your earliest memory is your teenage years, you're like, oh my goodness, get this guy for counseling right now.
Yeah. Let's see. I woke up in 4-point straps. No. Earliest memory. I actually remember learning to ride a bike. That's a great memory. I can remember my big brother pushing me and my dad waiting for me. You know, they took the training wheels off the bike. I remember that, and that went great. I rode right into a brick wall before I could get down the sidewalk to my dad. Oops! But that wasn't, you know, obviously I didn't give it up.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I have some earlier memories than that even, actually. But I think I was probably. I remember kindergarten very well. I was 4 when we went off to kindergarten. I remember walking to grammar school, which is something kids aren't allowed to do anymore. You know, the parents are just like, "See ya, hope you come back." And you walk the 2-3 blocks to school. I can't imagine as a parent not getting a visit from child services if you tried that today. You know, you're sending your kid to cross streets without parental supervision on the way to school, eh? Can't see it happening, but yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Cool. So when did you move from LA to San Diego?
Yeah, I was born up at the Burbank Community Hospital and reared in Panorama City. And my first failed college attempt, I went to James Monroe High School. Yeah, go Vikings! And then my first failed college attempt was Cal State Northridge in the 70s. That didn't go well. We ultimately did make it through college, but it took a while. And then I moved down here actually for work in the real estate industry in 1981. And I moved to University City. And I lived in University City, and I kept surfing. I'd found the Encinitas area for surfing in high school in the 70s. And I kept driving up to surf in Encinitas, you know, because that's where all my surfing pals were and stuff. Yeah. Even though I lived in University City, and then when my landlord more than doubled the rent, one day she went like, "Oh, I haven't raised your rent in like 5 years you've lived here," and you know, it was like almost tripled actually the rent, and it was like, and it was the point where it was like at that time things were very different than the world today. I went, holy crap, I can get a mortgage. I can have a mortgage for this kind of rent, you know? And so that's what I did. I bought my house up in Encinitas, and been there ever since. You know, so I bought the house there. We closed escrow. That was when my first child, my first daughter was born. So that was, 1986. Yeah. So, and it's been a great place to raise a family. It's been a great place to live. I've really enjoyed my time up there. Yeah. You know, no regrets on that one. Getting out of LA, getting out of Van Nuys, Panorama City, and raising kids in Encinitas instead. That was a good pick. I got real lucky on that one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, good neighbors.
Yeah.
Good town.
Sweet. So were people surprised that you started comedy, like your friends and family, or?
You know, interestingly, no.
Oh, nice.
They were like, "Wow, you're doing that!" You know, they were really stoked for me,
Nice.
and they were excited about it. They've been very supportive. They've come to the shows when I've performed and invited them. Sometimes I don't, but when I do, they do come. And a number of them sort of went like, "No, that's a good fit. I can see that." You know, because I've always been kind of a smart ass anyway. So,
Sure. Makes sense.
that, I guess it's a good fit in their eyes.
Yeah. That's cool. So do you encourage other people that you know to do comedy?
I absolutely do. It's been such a positive experience for me that I think everybody should give it a shot. I really do. It's a wonderful discipline, and it's a little bit of self-exploration. You kind of have to. You kind of have to think, not just on the superficial day-to-day, getting by, living life, you know, on a skating by level. You kind of have to drill down a little bit, you know, to really bring forth the contrast or irony that makes for comedy. And that's a wonderful exercise mentally. It really is. And for those of us that are no longer in our 20s, I think personally that type of thing helps my brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really does. It helps my brain, forces me to drill down a little and actually do some cognitive work and try to make connections that aren't obvious, you know, or aren't natural. And that is where good stand-up comes from, right?
Sure.
So I just think it's beautiful. I mean, again, I see these guys. I watch YouTube clips and stuff. Bill Burr is someone who I would just love to emulate. I don't think I have it, you know, but I just love the way that guy connects dots. It's just fantastic. You know, it really is. And I think I would. So yes, I strongly encourage everybody. I try to get them to take a class or go to an open mic.
Yeah.
And if I'm at, so I was at an open mic the other night, and there weren't that many comedians or people that signed up, and we talked some guy into just going up on stage and tell some dad jokes.
Yeah.
Just do that. Just get up there on the mic, say your name, and tell a knock joke.
Right.
Just anything, just to get that experience, and it's worth it. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a real slut. I don't think you have to be anything special. I think you should get up there and give it a whack, just to get that experience. That's how strongly I feel it's a positive experience.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So, do you ever like listen to any other podcasts or at all, or watch comedy specials, or?
I watch comedy specials. I watch YouTube. You know, the podcasts I listen to tend to be more history and politics, because that's more my thing. You know,
Okay.
I do listen to, like, on XM. You know, there's comedy channels, and those are stand-ups, and those I like a lot while I'm driving. Or when I'm on my motorcycle, actually I have XM on my motorcycle, believe it or not, and Bluetooth in the helmet. And so I listen to comedy while I'm riding a lot, and it's great. That I really enjoy. The podcasts, I haven't found a good one. You know, not every comedian makes a great interviewer. You're doing a great job, by the way. You're asking me questions. You're making me think. So that's really, I commend you on that. Maybe, you know, if your comedian career isn't going where you want, maybe you want to think about journalism, because you're actually pretty good at this.
Okay.
I've been interviewed before, and this is pretty good. But no, the comedian podcast I've been kind of disappointed in, and shame on me, right? I mean, really, what? Some guy's gonna do a podcast for 2 hours and be funny for 2 hours? I mean, well, I don't know what the hell I was expecting,
Right.
but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd want to hear Bill Burr interview a newsmaker and expect something. You know what I mean? I mean, or even interview some other person in the performing arts.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're, Tiger Woods is a great golfer.
Yeah.
I don't think I want him to fix my filling. So, I'm not sure that the stand-ups in the world make great podcasters in general. And it's like I said, I've been a little disappointed thus far in the stand-up or the comedian people that I've listened to their podcasts. It just hasn't stuck for me. So,
Okay. Yeah. Well, I got recommendations.
Okay. Well, I'm open. I'm definitely in teachable mode. There's no question. So I'm open to suggestions.
Right. Yeah, like Pete Holmes' podcast, You Made It Weird. That's good, I like it.
Okay, cool.
Mark Maron's WTF.
I like the sound of WTF.
Exactly. Those two are definitely ones.
Okay, well, 2 recommendations. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. They're not always comedy, but I try to check in with those ones.
Nice.
Yeah. So what do you think is the worst thing about comedy right now?
The worst thing about comedy, I think, is, and I'm really serious about this, late night TV has forgotten how to be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dreadful. I can't even freaking watch it anymore. It's bullshit. I can't watch Saturday Night Live. If I want to be lectured to, I'll sign up for a class and listen to a lecture. These people are not funny. And the stuff that they're doing isn't funny.
Yeah.
And just because the applause sign lights up and the audience applauds doesn't mean it is.
Right.
And I think that's tragic. I used to really enjoy late nights. Second City TV was unbelievably out there. That was fantastic,
Yeah.
right? Saturday Night Live used to be fantastic.
So who's your favorite cast?
I'm sorry?
Saturday Night Live, who's your favorite cast?
Oh, with the early ones.
Yeah.
Probably the first, 10 years. I mean,
Sure.
But the last at least 10 years, I don't know what happened. I really don't. But basically what it seems to have happened is it's gone, I hate to use the term woke because it's overused, but I will. It's gone woke. It's no longer edgy. It's worried about offending. It's extremely anti-conservative politics, which is, crazy, because back in the day they made fun of everything and everybody, which was part of the joy. I mean, Gerald Ford was actually a great athlete in real life.
Yeah.
Okay. Chevy Chase made an entire career about falling downstairs as Gerald Ford. I'm pretty sure it was Chevy Chase. That was funny. I mean, that was really, really funny. But they also made fun of Jimmy Carter. They made fun of everybody.
Right.
And they did it with style and with skill. You know what I mean? It wasn't cheap shots. Even if it was done well. I mean, even if it, there was a period of time, I'm really hopeful that it's coming out of it. I have seen a couple of Saturday Night Live snippets lately that showed some signs of life again. And I was very, very, very pleased that it seems like, okay, maybe somebody smacked him and said, hey, you guys are either going to get funny again or we're going to cancel this damn show finally, right?
Right.
I don't know what's going on with it. But again, the stuff, the types of shows that used to be available, even just late night talk shows. Johnny Carson was funny. David Letterman was very funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. The people that are on there at 11:30 at night now and midnight, they're not funny.
Yeah.
They're just not. I don't think they're even trying to be. They're just not. They're, okay, somebody called Trump, an orange troll doll. Good for you. Yawn. You know what I mean? That's not funny. I mean, even if it is funny, it's old.
Right.
That's men walk, a horse walks into a bar, why the long face? I mean, that's just tiresome.
Yeah.
So that's I think the worst thing that's happened to comedy is it's lost its way.
Yeah.
And then again, like during COVID, there's what came out of that? The note, because they shut down all the comedy stores.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't go have a crowd. You couldn't have a crowd unless you were a giant corporation like Home Depot or Target. Then apparently the virus was afraid of you, and people would go there and spend their money. But if you own a mom and pop shop, or you own a cafe or a comedy store, you're going to kill everybody so nobody's allowed in. We're going to post cops.
Right.
That worked out well. Anyway, a thing came out of that though called what's it called? Don't Tell Comedy,
Yeah.
right? And I signed up for that, and it was great. You didn't know where the comedy show was till 9 a.m. that day, and then they would text you, right, or email you or whatever, and for $25 a seat, you'd all materialize, and it would be at some barber shop or at a real estate office or whatever, or in someone's backyard. Set up the folding chairs, and you'd have comedy.
Yeah.
And it was non-PC, and it was edgy, and it was raw, and some of it wasn't funny, but it was real.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing. And so I think, like stand-up, I think there was a period of time like Dave Chappelle went through some kind of a war with the LGBTQ community thing, where he finally went, you know what, F you people. I'm doing comedy, and if it offends you, then oh well, sucks to be you. And he didn't care, and apparently Netflix supported him, and so he got away with it. And then again, he was Dave Chappelle, and he was funny, and it was real, and it was raw, and it was good, and I think that gave others, maybe I'm misreading this completely, but it seems like now more people are kind of going, screw this PC crap. If I want to make an Asian joke, I'm going to make an Asian joke. It's not just going to be the stuff that comports to corporate life. If you get a corporate gig and you have to do a corporate deal, that's one thing. But if you're doing straight stand-up to a general audience and your voice is whatever it is, I think the courage to do it has to be there, and I think the audience appreciates it. So there you go. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's good. What I don't like is people getting offended for other people.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
It's like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy's a misogynist. Really? Why? He told that person who told that person about the other person. Really? Okay. Well, have a good life, Karen. I'm going to tell the manager. I saw you offend that person. What? Yeah. I'm with you on that one. So.
All right. So have you ever been in a car accident?
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, when I was 17, got hit head on.
Wow.
That was a bad one. Yeah, my buddy and I were in my 71 El Camino. This car crossed over. I still remember. We were on Balboa Avenue heading north and crossing Rinaldi, which is a big street up in the San Fernando Valley. Yeah. And this car, it was a Mustang, crossed over the center line, came into my lane, and I hit the brakes. We collided head on. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Kapow, big accident. And sitting back there in the car, I looked at my friend Danny, and I said, "Whoa, you okay?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think we were both out for a second or two." And there's smoke, and the radiators are burst and everything, hood's up. and these 4 guys get out of this other car and start saying something and take off running. And I go, Danny, where are they going? And my friend Danny looks at me and he goes, maybe they're going to get help. And I went, yeah, that's probably it. It wasn't it. They took off running.
Wow.
Well, luckily there was a donut shop on the corner, and so the cops were there like that. True story, but still, great line. But anyway, so those were illegal aliens. They had never existed in this country, the people that bought that car and were driving it. That car wasn't registered to anybody that was known in this country. It was sold by a dealership that never existed anywhere. That dealership was registered at a location that didn't actually exist on planet Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was, I learned a lot that summer. I didn't have collision insurance on my car, and we had a neighbor who built race cars for a living. It's called Larry's Custom Creations in the San Fernando Valley. I'm like, 17-year-old kid. I'm crying, 16, 17 years old. And I had it towed to Larry's business. He's a neighbor. And went and knocked on the door. And he took pity and said, well, what he had me do was he had me work the summer, work for him basically as slave labor. And we would fix my car when there was time between actual jobs. Yeah. And I learned, it was a fantastic summer. I learned so much about picking parts at the junkyard, and we rebuilt the car. Wow. And built it as kind of a hot rod, and it was actually turned out to be a great looking car. Nice. And it was a wonderful car, but that was a hell of an experience.
Wow, it makes a good story.
Yeah, I've been real lucky. I've got 50 years of licensed riding motorcycles in Southern California, and I have not yet, knock on wood, everywhere I can find it, had a collision on a motorcycle. But and I feel very, very grateful for that. Good fortune. But the car crash was tough. I've been in a couple of others that weren't quite as dramatic, but that was the first, and it was memorable.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
It worked out well.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Ended up being a good story.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Let's see. So do you ever think that you would try to get a venue and put on a show yourself, or you just gonna?
That has never really occurred to me. I would bet that that's a lot more work than it would appear to be at first. Yeah. But to be honest, it's not completely outside the realm of reason. No, because I do know people that own businesses and restaurants and that kind of thing. I don't know enough people in the comedy community yet, I don't believe, to actually have a regular venue. But
well, you'd be surprised if
you build it, they will come. Is that what you're saying?
A lot of times.
That's not outside. That's not outside the realm of reason possibility. I could see. That might happen. Actually, that might be kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think? You put together a show. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if it has any appeal, you should pursue it.
We'll give that some thought. Yeah, thank you for that idea.
It's a way of giving back to the community, building. You can have your own writing group that meets there.
There's a lot of potential, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And also sometimes you can even just start off where you make a writing group and you show the venue that you can bring people there, even if they're just comics, and then say, hey, do you mind if we do an open mic? Well, it's going to be a lot of the same people, even maybe more.
We'll have a gig.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
Of course. So have you had any good fan interactions yet? The Robin Williams story, you can't. Who's ever gonna?
Good luck beating that, right?
But what if anybody, saw your comedy and then say, "Oh, great job," or
not of note. No. Again, though, just being stupid lucky. My son is Air Force. Actually, it was when he was college. He was in college still. He was at Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, and Ron White, who I just adore. Ron White, and more than 10 years ago now, or somewhere, about 10 years ago, maybe less. Anyway, Ron White was going to be in Vegas, and Vegas is a couple hours from Flagstaff and a couple hours from San Diego, Encinitas, and I was talking to my son. I said, "Hey, how about a father-son weekend?" Because he loves Ron White and comedy too. And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, right on." And so I bought the tickets and made the hotel room reservations in Vegas, and we met there. And I bought decent tickets and everything, but we actually got, I don't know why, I don't believe I paid that much, but anyway, we wound up with some kind of a VIP setup. So we got there early, we got some swag, we got great seats, we got a great show, and then afterwards, maybe it was my son and I think maybe 6 or 7 or 8 others, got escorted into a little anteroom, like a green room, and Ron White came in and just sat down there and shot the shit with us for about an hour.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. Just a genuine guy, just a regular. But the guy is funny.
Sure.
But he's also just a nice. He struck me as just a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a major star. He's not full of himself. He's just, you know what I mean? I was very, very impressed with that. That was cool. But that's a great memory.
Yeah.
It really is. Again, it's just dumb luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet.
But no, I haven't had the opportunity to perform anywhere where somebody of note would go, "Wow, hey, you've got some chops."
It doesn't have to be someone of note. It's just even.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, when I go to these open mics, it's my impression is that the vast majority of the audience is really other people who want to be comedians, and they're there, and they are sort of watching, but they're also thinking about what they're going to do when they're performing, right? So that doesn't count as like an audience, okay?
Right.
So I don't really expect much. Right. So when I actually perform at a open mic, and the audience really laughs, that's huge. Yeah. To me, that's like, wow, that's really big. Yeah. But I've had some really nice comments, like so you do the class. When we did the class, the graduation is everybody gets a 3-minute performance spot. And you invite your friends and family and stuff, and it's a paid gig. They pay to get in. That's part of the deal. They're going to pay. I think paid audiences are more appreciative. I mean, they're there for they know they're there to see comedy,
right? And
they're there to laugh. They're not there to shoot the shit about the golf game. They paid money for this seat, right? And so it's a best. So I think at one time, I think the biggest audience was about 50 people. It's a good-sized audience, 35 to 50, right in there. And it was in a theater-type setting. And we all do our bits. And I think there was 8 of us, 10 of us that performed. And so the whole show's over in an hour. Everybody can get on with their evening. And at the end, you go up to the door and thank people for coming and that kind of thing. And the number of absolute stranger dangers who I'd never ever seen before, who shook my hand and went, "Wow, thank you. That was really funny. I enjoyed your stuff. That was a great observation." That kind of stuff. Yeah. That was really rewarding. I mean, that was just really neat. So yeah, that's happened a few times. And again, it's like that magic golf shot, man. It's just keeps coming back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I would just recommend trying to come to more open mics and go to other people's shows and. Yeah, I know it's a little ways, but here at the Madhouse, we have open mics 7 nights a week.
See, I had no idea. When are the open mics here? Free plug.
Yeah, 7 nights a week.
7 nights a week. There's free open mic
on Monday. It starts at 8. Tuesdays it starts at 9:30. Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday it starts about 10. Friday, Saturday it starts about midnight.
Starts?
Yeah, it's a short show. It just goes from midnight to like 1:30 or so, because that's when they have to kick everybody out because of the drinking laws.
I think that's elder abuse.
Well, you don't have to come to that.
I mean, come on, I'm old. You want me to stay up till midnight to start?
No, I'm not saying that you should come to that one. You should avoid that one.
I'm just having fun.
Yeah, I get it. And then, there's other open mics too. Like, there's sign up for the Stats open mic. It's a mixed open mic, so you get to see some music, some poetry. The Stats Coffee House on Adams Avenue.
Never heard of it.
That's sign-ups at 5:30. Or also tonight across the street, there's an open mic at a Lumpia place. It starts at 7.
Wow, cool.
So there's
a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I just need to do more. That's all. But I need to do more performing and writing, and again, I'm really enjoying it. I really am.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast.
And thank you for having me. I'm honored, and I hope whoever watches this gets something out of it.
Yeah, I hope we encourage people to just try comedy. You
Absolutely.
Try comedy anytime. And most of the guests say wish they started comedy earlier. So
I'm right in line with that.
If you're thinking about it, you should do it.
Yep.
And go see live comedy, everybody. That's the best. It's best to see it live.
100%. What he said is right.
Oh yeah. All right. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been
Thanks, everybody.
Comedy or less.
Or worse. Try it again. Try it again.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
Comedy or worse. Yay. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.